Okay, today's question is, should we be afraid about what's happening with the virus restrictions and jab mandates? So things are really ratcheting up now. It's almost mid-August 2021 and vaccine passports are rolling out everywhere. And also there is this increasing pressure to get the jab. So, it's worrying. It's worrying to say the least. So, my question is this something we should be afraid of? Should we be afraid about what's happening with the virus restrictions and the jab mandates? All right. Let's see what we got. Greetings and thank you for the question. Should you be afraid of the virus restrictions and the jab mandates? Let us start by speaking about fear. Fear is endemic to the illusion of physicality. Fear is not a true quality of what is. What is, in the sense of what is true, what is actual. Fear is outside of that paradigm, because the paradigm of what is true arises entirely from the One. And the One is light. The One is love and its derivatives. So anything out of this field, out of the light, out of love and its derivatives, is endemic to the illusion. It is a falsity that is necessitated so that an experience of what is possible. So, fear is an energy of the dark end or negative end of the spectrum. This negative end of the spectrum is a necessary component of the illusion so that it creates the contrast for there to be an experience of that which is. And that which is the One, is light, is love and its derivatives. So, fear and all other energies from this negative end of the spectrum are the polarity to the light, which has been created in the illusion so there can be contrast for the experience of the light. Now we begin this way because we want to illustrate to you that fear is a non-truth. Fear is nothing more than a shadow of what is true. And through this illustration, we hope that you can see that there is no substance to fear. There is no power in fear, which is inherent, which is intrinsic, other than the power that an individual gives that fear. So it is a hollow concept, in a sense. Whereas love, for example, it has an intrinsic, inherent power. It is a force. And comparatively, love and fear are what is real and what is not real. Is truth, is illusion, is power, is falsity. And so the fear relies on deception. And love relies on truth. It is truth. So, clearly, if this is the nature of love and fear, then fear is something which has no purpose other than to provide the contrast to love. So, there is no need to be in fear unless you wish to find love. At this point in the evolution of the human spirituality, this service of the fear pointing to the light is becoming less and less of a requirement, less and less service, until the point has been reached now where fear has become a redundancy. It has become something which does not need to be entertained or identified with, as in, I am afraid, I am fearful. Because the evolution of human spirituality is now teetering on the point where there is a awakening to the realization that you are love, that you are the light and the love of the One, because you are an individuation of the infinite love and light of the One. So, if you are having this realization that you are in fact the light, then what is the purpose of entertaining the darkness, of identifying with the darkness, of exploring the darkness? This function of the darkness is no longer something which needs to be explored. So, when one is preoccupied with fear, is holding fear, understand that it is an artifact of what has been the habitual way for humanity to relate to the light and dark for a very long time. But in a more practical sense, to provide more understanding to this relationship, your relationship with fear. As you awaken to the realization that you are the love and light of the Infinite One, that you are an infinite, invulnerable, immortal, energetic, and that the life you live now is the true essence of who you are, animating the physical avatar. Then if you are these things, if you are infinite and invulnerable and immortal, then what purpose does fear serve? There is no purpose. Because in this context of who you truly are, there is no reason ever to be fearful. Because if you are infinite, you can never be diminished. You can never become less. Because if you take something away from infinity, it is still infinity. Also, if you are invulnerable, because you exist as an energetic, temporarily having the physical experience. So in a sense, you are the player that is moving the game avatar about the game. So when the game avatar is damaged in the game, you are not. You are invulnerable to what occurs in the game. Therefore, in this extrapolated understanding of who you are, why is there any reason to be afraid of what happens in the game, in the life that you're living? Because ultimately, nothing can touch you in the true essence of who you are. Because this is just a temporary physical experience for the purpose of fulfilling divine purpose. And so if you are infinite and you can never be damaged, then you are also immortal. You shall never cease to be. So if you're all these things, then what purpose does fear serve? Other than to point you to the light, to awaken to the realization that you are love. And yet this has been fulfilled. You have reached the point where this is understood. And so going back to the original question, then there is no need to be afraid of the virus restrictions and the jab mandates, because you are a being of love. You are a being which is an individuation of the light of the One. And if you fully be who you are, as much as is possible in the third density experience, then you will be love and its derivatives, because this is quite literally what you are. You are not any energy from the negative end of the spectrum. They are the non-real aspect of the illusion. They are the shadow of the light, such that there can be a contrast and experience of the light. So, to be afraid is to misconceive of self and believe that something which is illusory is actually you. And it is the same with anger, it is the same with hate, it is the same with depression, despondency, anxiety. These are all energies from the negative end of the spectrum. And the negative end of the spectrum is the illusory part of the physical paradigm which makes possible the experience of the light. And this is utility to the fulfillment of divine purpose in the physical experience, which is to know thyself, to discover thyself, to experience the true essence of who you are, because this is the One's purpose. The One yearns to know itself experientially, because before creation it existed entirely as a concept, one. And when there is one, there is no opportunity for contrast. There is no opportunity for one aspect to look at another aspect and have an experience of something which isn't it. And this was the original desire of the One, to have an experience of itself. And therefore creation came to be, and its purpose, the One's purpose, is fulfilled through all of the individuations of itself, including you. So the One is experiencing itself through the individuation which is you, and thereby it is experiencing itself, fulfilling its divine purpose. And as you are the One, then it is also your divine purpose to know thyself. And knowing of thyself is the realization that you are the love and the light of the One. And so anything which is outside of that isn't you. It is illusion. It is misconception about who you are. So, therefore, since the One is love and light, because consider this: what words from the lexicon of human emotion would you use to describe the One, to describe the benevolent creator? Would these be love and all emotions associated with love? Love and its derivatives? Of course. This is the constituency of the One, love and its derivatives. You are an individuation of this one being, which is comprised of love and its derivatives. Therefore, your composition is also love and its derivatives. Therefore, any emotional state, any identity you hold, which is not within this field of light, love and its derivatives, is a misconception about who you are. It's self-identifying with that which you are not, with the illusion. So, you are never fear, you are never hate, you are never anger, depression, despondency, anxiety. You cannot be these things. It is impossible to be these things. However, you can misconceive that you are these things. You can self-identify into believing you are these things. I am afraid. I am anger. I am depressed. This is misconception of self. So, going back to the original question, being afraid of the vaccine restrictions, the virus restrictions, and the jab mandates. So, you can see that we believe quite clearly fear has no purpose in the context of you, the individual. However, it is playing a purpose in the larger context, because there are many who are yet to make these realizations that they are the love and light of the One, and they are not the darkness. So, for them to reach this point of realization, then they still must pass through the gauntlet of darkness, where they misconceive of self as the darkness, explore what it means to be the darkness, this misconception, this misidentity. And then from this exploration, arrive at the realization that I'm not the darkness. I see, I understand, I realize I am not the fear, the anger, the hate, the depression, the anxiety. I am not these things. And then purge them, and inevitably have the epiphany that I am the light, polarized to the light. So this is the ongoing process which was playing out and increasing in its speed on planet Earth right now. So, there is still a service being offered to humanity in a whole by what is occurring now. The darkness exists the darkness exists to provide the contrast to the light. And so, although those who are behind what is occurring now on planet Earth are motivated from a place which does not honor the light, this is only true within the context of the physical experience, where the Earth human has been born into a state of non-remembrance and having no or very little awareness of their higher self, of their previous lives, of the reasons they have chosen to be born into this experience. And the more that a being is oriented to the darkness, the more this is so. Therefore, while these people who are behind the chaos which is occurring on Earth right now do so with a desire to extinguish the light, because they have a hatred for the light, they have a fear of the light, because they understand the light is ultimately the force that will strip them of their power and reveal them to the rest of the world and create a circumstance where they become answerable to the many atrocious things they have done over generations. But from a higher self perspective, where they are beings entirely of the light, they're non-physical, they are beings of light, understanding that they are individuations of the love and light of the One, and they live to serve the One, as all aspects of the One do in this higher state of awareness. Because all aspects of the One, in the most awakened state identify as the One, as a legion of the One. So they act in service of the One, because acting in service of the One is acting in service of themselves. From this perspective, they understand that it is the intense darkness which is going to drive humanity to the light. It is the necessary polarity to make the light appear so bright. If you turn on a light outside in the daytime, then its glow is, for the most part, indiscernible, unnoticeable, with very little sense of attraction. However, if you turned on that light during the darkest moment of the day, then it will glow with a brilliant, unnoticeable radiance. This is the service that the darkness plays by providing this contrast. So the light can be perceived as the beacon that it is. And these beings behind all that is occurring on Earth right now, this chaos, from their higher perspective, they are aware of the service that the darkness plays in illuminating and fortifying the radiance of the light. So, always keep in mind, physicality is like a dream. It's like a playground. It's a place that you and all those beings in the physical realm have come to for the freedom to discover more of themselves, to know themselves as the One through the enjoyable and interesting context of the physical illusion. Because all beings ultimately arise from the One, all ultimately arise from the light. And so while they come here and they may play a role which is nefarious, which is evil, which is cruel, it is just the role they play in the playground of physicality, so there can be a varied experience for the One to have of itself. Because of the uniqueness of the solar system experiment, where species indigenous to this solar system have been birthed into creation with no recognition of their connection to the One, then the potency of contrast to the light which is required to awaken you and other beings indigenous to the solar system to the realization that they are the light is very, very extreme. So, the depths of darkness and the atrocity and the depravity and all of these very intense facets of the darkness as is experienced in the human field are indicative of the amount of darkness that is required to push a species that has been born into a state of non-recognition, it is the light, to the light. So, the solar system experiment was manipulated by opportunists who recognize that spiritually dichotomous beings that are born without recognition of their connection to the One, have a very deep capacity to hold darkness, because in their very unique way they have the capacity to identify as the darkness. And those opportunists who sustain themselves through darkness came here and increased the intensity of the darkness, manipulated the experiment to intensify the suffering so that their harvest could be more bountiful. While this has been manifest as great pain and suffering on your planet, in your human experience, understand that the radiance of the light that you shall exude once the transition from spiritual dichotomy to unity, to non-duality is complete, will be so radiant, will be so bright, will be so unprecedented in the richness and potency and wisdom will be, in a very large way, due to this experience of darkness which humanity has passed through as a direct consequence of these opportunities coming in and manipulating the experiment. So, from this 30,000 foot view, even those opportunists who came in and corrupted and created the pain and suffering which has endured for a very long time in the Earth human experience, are deserving of appreciation, love, and recognition, because the intensity of the bliss that all humans shall experience for every moment of their existence, for all time going forward, is due in big part to the role these opportunists have played, and also the elitists who have worked cooperatively with them to create this paradigm of pain and suffering on your planet. So, while the pain and suffering that has been endured has been a long time in the context of the Earth human experience, the heightened intensity of blissful state that will be experienced way into the future is many times greater than the price that has been paid through the suffering. So, they, in a way, from a very expanded context of who you are, if you can rise above identity with the avatar to realize that you are the higher self that is eternal and will continue to incarnate in the paradigm of the Earth human experience, then in your future incarnations, you are going to be living a very rarefied, blissful state because of the service they have provided. Therefore, they are very deserving of your love and appreciation. So, bring this all back down to what is occurring right now. Accept that this is part of the mechanism. The restrictions, the jab mandates, the everything which is occurring as part of this one big final push of the darkness. It is the precursor steps to this explosion into the light. It is necessary, and it still plays out now because it is still of service to those who are yet to realize that they are not the darkness, purge the darkness, I am the light, polarized to the light. Those who have still not reached that point are still being served by the darkness. So, come into a place of acceptance that this is so, that it is still providing a service such that you can live in a state of bliss in coming incarnations as the new paradigm Earth human. And yet, at this very moment, because you are in a place of understanding that you are the love and light of the One, and that the negative end of the spectrum is endemic to the illusion and not who you are in a very literal sense, then you don't need to participate in the fear paradigm. You can let it play out in other regions, in the minds of other people, while yourself remaining separated from it. And if you ever find yourself falling into a mindset of fear, always recall that you are the gamer operating the game avatar in the game world. So you are not what you see in the mirror, but you are instead the energetic, the presence, which is operating the controls. And when something does occur to the avatar in the game, nothing occurs to you in the energetic sense of what you truly are, because you are completely separated from what occurs here, because what occurs here is illusory. You are completely inoculated. You are completely invulnerable. And you are infinite, and you are immortal. So there is nothing that can be lost. There is no harm that can be done to you. And you will never cease to be. So fear, quite literally, has no place, no meaning in that paradigm, in that understanding. So, continue to maintain this understanding of who you are and be a beacon of that into the earth human field, holding love, holding light at all times as a true experience of what you are. And this will impact those around you. This will contribute to the growing love and light of unity, which is the inevitable coming together of all humans in recognition that they are individuations of the same being, the humanity being. This is where it's heading, and more individuals are joining the unity, are becoming one aspect of the same energy field. And by radiating this energy yourself, then you are part of this energy field, and you are also magnetic and draw more to this energy field. So, let us finish off by speaking in more of a practical sense. If you find that you are being pressured into a situation where you must get the jab or you lose your income, for example. We would say in this situation, don't succumb to the fear. Don't be afraid of losing the material aspects of the illusion which you have constructed over time. You didn't come here to collect things, to own things, to live in a certain standard of opulence. You came here to discover who you are, to know the truth of what and who you are. And therefore, through the proxy of you, for the one to discover the truth of what it is. And that truth is love and its derivatives. And love and its derivatives are the garden bed of tenacity, resilience, courage, faith. So, do not be afraid to lose what you have if that is what is required to keep the integrity of your health, to keep your body as your own holy temple, which cannot be mandated to be contaminated by others. Be prepared to lose it all to maintain the honor of self and the preservation of your own temple. Because ultimately, it is your illusion, it is your experience. All that occurs is occurring within your infinity. So, you are the ultimate master of what occurs in your experience. Stand up and claim that birthright and have the strength and courage to be unmoved by those who wield fear as an instrument to bring you to your knees. And it is when enough humans operate from this place of true self-righteousness, and in this paradigm, the self is the expanded self through recognition of connection to all things, all of humanity, to the one, the ultimate truth. So, this is indeed a very, very exciting time. And we are absolutely on the edge of our seats at what is occurring, because we know it is the verge of something very extreme, on the precipice of an explosion of awakening, of realization, of epiphany, of ultimately ascendancy into a completely new paradigm of existence. So you are in the end stretch of it now. So stay strong. You have come so far over so many incarnations. What you have gone through to get here is extreme. It is nuts. What you have experienced through the journey of the many incarnations as an earth human. You are so close to the end. So, maintain your composure. Stay focused on the truth. And be the unity which you all are, coming together as the single flame, which will ultimately extinguish the darkness and birth the new paradigm which is now so close. We love you, and we thank you, and we cheer you in every moment from the sidelines.